Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my top 5 running back steals for fantasy football in 2021. Inside of today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 running backs that I believe to be steals based upon where they are going at their current average draft position. But before we get on in to the breakdown of these running backs, I would like to ask if you do end up enjoying today's video and you are new to my YouTube channel to please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. And while you're down there, whether you are new to my YouTube channel or not, please make sure that you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I would also like to let you guys know that my rankings are available for free on awesomemode.com. I'm going to be updating those later tonight, as well as adding a cheat sheet to the website that you guys can bring to your drafts to further help you guys dominate your 2021 fantasy football drafts. And if you guys want to read some articles about fantasy football that I write every single day, make sure you check out awesomemode.com. Both of the links to the rankings and the articles are going to be down below in the description, as well as in the pinned comment. So without further ado, let's get in onto the video. So my first running back steal right now is a running back whose ADP has already began to fluctuate based upon preseason week number 1. Now, my view on preseason week number 1 is not to completely overreact. Some crazy things are going to happen in week 1, and then they're going to be corrected in week 2 and 3. But I don't think a lot of people are really seeing that. They are very heavily overreacting because we didn't have preseason last year. We see some stuff happen this year on very few plays because the first team barely plays in these games, and people are already having their fucking underwear up in a bunch in their pants, and they are very, very nervous about running back Myles Gaskin of the Miami Dolphins. And I believe right now that he is going to be a running back steal. And I think once people continue to overreact, once they turn on the Mayday button in the room, it starts fucking flashing red lights, and people are getting very, very scared of Myles Gaskin, his ADP is going to continue to tank. And the more and more it falls, the more and more I like Myles Gaskin. Currently coming off the board as running back number 26 off the board, overall pick 66.1. Now, basically just before Sunday, everyone was on board with Myles Gaskin. I barely saw anyone pointing the finger at the fact that Salvon Ahmed was going to screw Myles Gaskin over. No one was talking about how Malcolm Brown was going to do this. On Saturday, during the Miami Dolphins versus Bears preseason game, we saw a lot of Malcolm Brown with the first team. He went out there, and you know what he did? He completely fucking sucked. He couldn't get into the end zone. He couldn't do the one thing the Dolphins probably want from him. The reason why they added him is because he's a thumper running back. He's one of those running backs that's built like a wrecking ball and is going to just joust himself into the end zone and try to score maybe a couple of touchdowns on the season, and that's really it. Malcolm Brown is not going to be very involved at all on this Miami Dolphins team. The player to actually worry about is Salvon Ahmed, because Salvon Ahmed is the solid number 2 behind Myles Gaskin. Now, just like last year, we saw this Dolphins team be a committee in the offseason. It was going to be Matt Breida, and it was going to be Jordan Howard, which was one of the more interesting committees to be talking about all of last offseason. And guess what? That committee didn't matter at all because Matt Breida and Jordan Howard were terrible, and Myles Gaskin ended up emerging himself. Now, while Brian Flores is going out there and is saying that, oh, this is going to be a committee, maybe now it takes a week or two, but eventually Brian Flores is going to realize that Myles Gaskin is by far and away the best running back in this backfield. And if I'm being honest with you, it might not even take that long. There's 3 preseason games. There's 2 more to go. Maybe by the end of week 3 preseason, maybe by the end of preseason this week, the Miami Dolphins and Brian Flores will realize that, hey, Myles Gaskin really is that guy, just like he was last season. In 10 games, finished as the running back, 28 PPR, 27.5 PPR, and the RB 27 in standard, averaging 16.4 PPR points per game, 14.4 half PPR points per game, and 12.3 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, Myles Gaskin was the RB 13 in PPR, 12.5 PPR, and the running back number 14 in standard. On the season, in 2020, in those 10 games, Myles Gaskin had 142 carries, 14.2 per game, ranking 28th at running back for 584 rushing yards, 58.4 per game, ranking 33rd at the running back position, as well as tacking on 47 targets, 4.7 per game, ranking 18th at running back, 41 receptions, 4.1 per game, ranking 14th at running back, 388 receiving yards, 38.8 per game, ranking 6th at running back for 5 total touchdowns, 35th at running back. So again, I understand why this commotion is happening because Salvon Ahmed looked good and Malcolm Brown was getting this heavy usage. But what you have to understand is that Myles Gaskin is by far and away the most talented running back in this backfield. That Myles Gaskin is going to be the guy on this team. I would bet my fucking house on the fact that Myles Gaskin is going to be that guy, just like he became last year. And again, maybe it takes a couple of games, but eventually Myles Gaskin is going to have that death grip, that stranglehold over the Miami Dolphins offense. And I believe that right now, where Myles Gaskin is going, he is a steal, and he's going to continue to fall further and further down drafts, which makes him even more of a steal. If you want to talk about any of these running backs in the comments, I would be more than welcome to have a conversation with you about them. If you disagree with me, that is okay. That is something that I try to encourage on this channel, that if you disagree, it is okay. I'm not over here just saying that my opinion is always right, because everyone's going to be wrong on things in fantasy football. Next up, we have one of my favorite late round running backs, and that is Michael Carter, running back of the New York Football Jets. Underdog ADP, running back number 30 off the board. Overall pick 84.30, up plus 6.55 picks in the last week. Michael Carter did not see much preseason use, kind of just like Myles Gaskin, but in a very similar case, they are both by far and away the best running backs in their backfield. Michael Carter is surrounded by the likes of Ty Johnson, Tevin Coleman, and LaMichael Pirine. All of those running backs that were not drafted by the head coach, Robert Saleh. You want to know who Robert Saleh drafted? Michael Carter. Sure, he brought in Tevin Coleman, and I believe that Tevin Coleman will more than likely be the star on this Jets team, but I believe that eventually Michael Carter is going to have a very strong stranglehold on this backfield. There is no way that Tevin Coleman is going to restrict Michael Carter, and all of the reports out of camp are that Michael Carter looks by far and away like the best running back in this backfield, and that he is one of the best players overall on this Jets team in training camp. So I really see no way that those running backs, who are basically just career backups, are going to be able to elevate themselves and keep themselves ahead of a running back with the talent of Michael Carter. Last year at UNC, at 21 years old, Michael Carter played in 11 games, rushing the ball 156 times for 1,245 rushing yards, as well as catching 25 balls for 267 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. While 25 receptions may not seem like a lot, this backfield in UNC with Michael Carter also had Javonte Williams, who was obviously very talented as he went in the second round of the 2021 NFL draft. Michael Carter ended up going inside of the 4th round, which may be worrisome to most, but I believe that the cream rises to the top, and Michael Carter is by far and away the best running back on this team. And going off the board as running back number 30, he is a steal, because when he is the guy in this backfield, which he will become very, very shortly, he, to me, has the potential to be a top 12, top 24 running back from a week in, week out standpoint. Next up, we have a running back that I really haven't talked about too much on my channel, but I believe to have a ton of upside. That is running back of the San Francisco 49ers, Raheem the Dream Mostert. Raheem Mostert is one of those running backs that is coming off the board right now, right next to Michael Carter, actually, as running back number 31 off the board. Overall pick 87.80, and he's one of those running backs that is actually stuck in a committee. But the thing with San Francisco and the committee system that they have in place there is that if Raheem Mostert was to become the guy, and I believe he will be getting the first licks at it, Kyle Shanahan has a long laundry list of running backs in the rookie year that he just does not really use. He doesn't like using those rookie running backs. Does that mean that Trey Sermon cannot succeed? Definitely not. That is not what that means. I think Trey Sermon is a fine draft pick as well, but Raheem Mostert is coming off the board much later, around a round later than Trey Sermon, based upon current average draft position, and I believe that Raheem Mostert is definitely the more valuable running back, because you're getting him at a round discount, and he should easily be the starter at the beginning of the season. And with how much the San Francisco 49ers like to run the ball, even with Jimmy Garoppolo. Now imagine how much they're going to run the ball when Trey Lance is under center, when Trey Lance's specialty is running the football. they're going to run even more. And if Raheem Mostert is the hot hand on this team, he could easily be a top 12 running back week in and week out. The biggest risk in Raheem Mostert is the fact that he could just easily not be the guy. He could suck, and Trey Sermon could be the guy. But right now, with the injury to Jeff Wilson, it really is just a battle between Raheem Mostert and Trey Sermon. And Raheem Mostert being the veteran, I believe he will get the first licks at it. So hopefully he is able to succeed with going first. In 8 games, Raheem Mostert finished as the RB 48 in PPR, 48 in half PPR, and the running back 47 in standard, averaging 12.5 PPR points per game, 11.5 half PPR points per game, and 10.5 standard points per game. Meaning, from points per game perspective, Raheem Mostert was the running back 29 in PPR, 28 in half PPR, and the RB number 27 in standard, having 104 total carries on the season, 13 per game, ranking 43rd at running back, 521 rushing yards, 65.1 per game, ranking 35th at running back, as well as getting 19 targets for 16 receptions, 156 receiving yards, and 3 total touchdowns. Again, Raheem Mostert is not this elite, mystifying running back that you stand up out of your seat and aggressively punch your mouse to draft during the draft. But I do believe that Raheem Mostert has a lot of upside that a lot of people are just overlooking because everyone likes the new hot rookie. They like that new piece in Trey Sermon, running back out of the Ohio State, and I understand it, but I believe that Raheem Mostert is a very nice value going right now in drafts that not too many people are talking about. We are about halfway into this video, so if you have ended up enjoying thus far, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below if you are new, and if you're not new, make sure to hit that like button. Next up, we have running back, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, now of the Arizona Cardinals, running back James Conner, ADP right now overall 118.30, running back number 38. Now, James Conner was put on the COVID protocol, but he is now off of that COVID protocol, and all of these signs out of camp are pointing to Cliff Kingsbury saying that this is going to be a hot hand approach backfield, meaning this job is up for the taking. Could it be James Conner? Could it be Chase Edmonds? Now, from Cliff Kingsbury in the past, when Kenyon Drake was sucking complete and utter ass last season, Kenyon Drake was not given the bench. He didn't get that nice warm seat on the bench. He continued to use Kenyon Drake even when Kenyon Drake didn't look good at all. You want to know why? It's because I believe that Cliff Kingsbury does not believe in Chase Edmonds, and I think that with this role being so open to potentially be taken by James Conner, there is a pretty solid chance that James Conner ends up actually getting the job. The biggest thing to point out about James Conner is his injury history, as that is quite concerning. But when you're drafting a running back this late on in the draft, in about round 10, 11, where you can get James Conner, you're not really necessarily baking injury risk too much into it, because I believe early on in your draft, you got to keep it as safe as possible. But we're already so deep on into the draft that you can be taking these risks, and the risk that you are taking, the reward, in my opinion, at least severely outweighs the risk, because you could be getting a potential running back 1 on a team inside of the 10th, 11th round, which is near unheard of. James Conner last year in 13 games for the Steelers finished as running back 27 in PPR, 26 in half PPR, and the RB number 25 in standard, averaging 12.7 PPR points per game, 11.3 half PPR points per game, and 10 standard points per game. Meaning, from a points per game perspective, James Conner was the RB 28 in PPR, 29 half PPR, and the running back number 28 in standard. One thing about this Arizona Cardinals offense that I really like is the fact that when they get near the red zone, they like to run the football, which is kind of a downside to DeAndre Hopkins, but has a lot of upside for running back James Conner. Want to know another interesting fact? Chase Edmonds barely gets used on the goal line. In the red zone, Chase Edmonds is typically never in the game, especially on goal line scenarios. So on the goal line, James Conner will be the guy getting the football, scoring these touchdowns, getting you more fantasy football points. And I agree that last year, your argument might be that James Conner fucking sucked in Pittsburgh. And I agree. He looked terrible. But we are seeing potentially, I mean, it's hard to be worse than the offensive line that the Pittsburgh Steelers had last year. The Pittsburgh Steelers offensive line last season was so bad that I believe that going to Arizona just has to be, even if it's just a slight step up in the offensive line, is definitely something something big for James Conner. He had 169 carries last year. Very nice. 13th at running back, 18th highest at the running back position for 722 rushing yards, 55.4 per game, ranking 19th at running back, tacking on 43 targets, 3.3 per game, ranking 25th at running back with 35 receptions, 2.7 per game, ranking 21st at running back with 6 total touchdowns, 24th at the running back position. Now, again, like I was saying, when you're this late on in the draft, you are just hunting for upside. And the upside of James Conner is that he is the true running back number 1 on this team, and that he just puts himself above Chase Edmonds and just gets so much more use than him that he could actually elevate himself into being a very fantasy football relevant player in 2021. And based upon what Cliff Kingsbury has been saying, what has been coming out of the camp of the Arizona Cardinals is that this really is an open competition. Final player to be talking about here is a running back who is probably in the worst situation maybe ever, but the fact is that he is getting drafted so late in the draft that even though he's on a team that I expect to be completely and utterly dog shit, that I'm still going to be willing to take that final round, last round flyer pick on him. That is running back of the Houston Texans, Phillip Lindsay. For some odd reason, David Johnson is still getting drafted in like the 6th, 7th, or 8th round on Yahoo, NFL, ESPN, on Underdog. People a little bit sharper, he goes like the 10th or 11th round. But on those other formats, on Yahoo, ESPN, NFL, it seems like Phillip Lindsay goes near undrafted. And if you look at the splits from preseason, now again, I'm going to advise you not to 100% buy in on preseason. Just like I talked about with Myles Gaskin about how he wasn't getting all that usage and Michael Carter wasn't getting all that usage in the preseason. But I actually believe here in Houston that with the fact that David Johnson really isn't all that good, that these splits that we were seeing in preseason are entirely plausible to be occurring during the season. Tyrod Taylor played in 10 snaps on Saturday. Mark Ingram didn't play. The running back snaps go as followed. Phillip Lindsay was listed as the starter. 8 running back snaps out of those 10. The other 2 went to David Johnson. Third down running back snaps. David Johnson, 2. Phillip Lindsay, 0. So this is probably going to be a very big split share. But with David Johnson's history to getting hurt, with the fact that Lindsay, at least in my opinion, is the better pass catcher, or at least a comparable pass catcher to David Johnson, I think he's worthy of a late round shot. Now, I know a lot of people just want to avoid situations like this. They think of the Houston Texans, they think, hey, Deshaun Watson probably wants out of there. This is going to be a very bad offense, and I understand that. But at the end of the day, you're just looking for a running back in the last round that is going to at least touch the ball a couple of times in the game and does have that potential to actually be the starter on the team. And since Phillip Lindsay was listed as the starter, and since all this news out of training camp keeps coming out pointing towards David Johnson being on a downward spiral, I believe that you just have to take that late round shot on running back Phillip Lindsay of the Houston Texans, who, if you guys remember, just a couple of years in Denver, this guy was looking like one of the better running backs in the NFL. Again, not like a top 5 running back or something, but an above average running back. And in Houston, even with the terrible team that he is on, if he gets all these dump offs, he could be dangerous in 2021. So let me know down below in the comment section what you guys thought about this video, what you thought about my top 5 running back steals. I would love to talk to you guys in the comment section. I hope you guys did end up enjoying this video. If you did, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. I love each and every single one of you, and I'll see you beautiful bastards in the morning with another banger of a video. As always, guys, stay safe. Goodbye.